This is a mock interview conducted by ForumIAS Academy at New Delhi. The interview panel includes eminent professors, retired bureaucrats, and other luminaries. The objective of the program is to acquaint the candidate with the format and expectations of the personality test conducted by UPSC.
Hello, Kunal.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Sir, good, sir. Thank you for asking.
You are living in Delhi or from Arunachal Pradesh? You are here in Arunachal Pradesh.
Sir, I'm living in Agartala, Tripura right now.
Tripura. Okay, Tripura. Right. Oh. Well, to begin with, let us try to understand you. What Kunal means?
Sir, my mother and father named me Kunal because of the flower lotus. So, since lotus has a pleasing appearance and a personality, they wanted me to also have the same characteristics.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, you try to imitate and follow that?
So, with the best of my abilities, I try to emulate that.
There's a well-known name, Kunal. He was a prince. Are you aware of?
Right, sir. So, he was the son of King Ashoka.
I see. So there's so many stories about him.
Right, sir.
I hope you know some of these at least. Huh? And you have taken political science and international relations, isn't it?
Right, sir.
Now tell us, you have a very bright career, and still you thought, you considered this particular service. People are calling it Babu. People are giving all kind of names. Don't you think you could earn much better and much more money there outside than in this service? Or you could have got more satisfaction outside? Why are you really pursuing this service?
So I think a particular quote inspired me very much. If all my life is only spent on earning profit for myself, then it is not a life to live. So I try to emulate this particular thing. And I think civil services is a particular job which actually gives you the opportunity as well as the resources to bring meaningful changes in the society. We have seen a large number of civil servants who have contributed in big ways in the development of our nation. And I think I also want to do the same.
I see your father is also in civil service.
Right, sir.
So most of the civil servants, sons and kids, they don't want to come in civil service. You are an exception, aren't you?
No, sir. I have many friends who are also trying to do the same.
Okay. Now let's come to things around political science. It's a subject, and international relation is a subject.
Right, sir.
Now India is facing a dilemma these days whether to go with Russia or with Ukraine and sort of US and so on. And there's so many other countries also facing the same kind of things. And India has taken a particular view. How do you see that? Is it wise? Leaving Americans would be wise, or it has reasons?
So I think the foundation of any particular nation's foreign policy depends upon national interest. In this case also, we have seen that India is following its national interest. India has taken a principled stand, yet it follows its strategic interest. It does not want to align itself to any particular nation for just the sake of supporting some. It stands by the principles of dialogue and diplomacy as well as peaceful coexistence. And this is...
That's right, but what is the interest in siding with, being away from US and being somewhere sitting in between? What is the interest?
Sir, I feel that when it comes to balancing between the three stakeholders at world affairs, that is Russia, USA, and China, this perhaps was the best policy. India needs Russia as well because it wants to venture out into the Central Asian part, and Russia is a key stakeholder there. And also it has a great export dependencies when it comes to defense exports. So India needs Russia. When it comes to the Indo-Pacific, India also needs US's help militarily to quarantine or corner of China's aggressive wolf warrior diplomacy. So I feel
If
this
you
particular
talk
stand,
about military dependence.
right,
Now
sir?
you have seen Russian equipment. They have not been able to stand against robot. I mean against uh, uh, some Turkish small little instruments. They have been hitting Russian planes.
Right, sir.
Don't you think we should be really running away from big machines and come to small little things that can really help and that are less costly?
Sir, what I feel regarding Russian ammunition is that although Russia is developing new type of weapons, but most of it is exported. Russian military is still antiquated in much sense because of the assault rifles and the equipments that they are taking to war. Moreover, Russia under the pressure of sanctions is still not using its force when it comes to civilian
No,
population.
I'm talking about drones actually, drones versus the big machines.
So drones has been a revelation and it has proven
Why
to be
should
very
we go
useful.
for drones rather than getting Rafales and spending thousands of crores?
So both have different utilities. Drones can be used for surveillance purposes and for carrying out secret or covert strikes. But when it comes to warfare between two nations, then
And they can
Rafale
hit
fighters.
also. They can hit also. They can't be detected by radars. Don't you think?
But it cannot carry large potent weapons like the ones like Helena missiles, which could be carried out by these Rafale or MiG fighters. So their carrying capacity is much larger, and drone technology, as of right now, has come
Let's
to
come
it.
to, yeah, that's right. Let's leave it. Come
Right,
to closer home. There is
right.
two of our neighbors are having problem these days. Who are those and what are the problems?
So first is Pakistan. There is political turmoil when it comes to Pakistan. Today itself, its Prime Minister Imran Khan has resigned and called for fresh elections. Whereas in Sri Lanka, there is economic crisis, which has led to a state of emergency.
So economic crisis led to emergency, sort of declaring emergency, isn't it?
Right, sir.
But what is the economic crisis? Can you define a little more in detail?
Uh, Sir, economic crisis is because Sri Lanka has very less forex reserves to sustain its economy. Sri Lanka, being an island nation, depends heavily upon forex reserves for importing essential commodities. And now it doesn't have enough forex reserves to last more than 1.8 months. And this particular crisis has led to several other domino effects
So
leading
it is
to the
because of
crisis.
foreign exchange reserve issue that has led to this kind of issues. This kind of problem.
So forex is just a manifestation of the deeper problems. There are 4 or 5 major reasons why this particular situation has arisen. For example, the COVID crisis and the Easter bombings, which
But do
led
you
to.
see any solution to this? Because if the foreign exchange reserves are not there, local production is not there, initially prices will go up and there will be scarcity. Is there any solution? Suppose you were to advise them, what you would advise?
So first
As
of
an
all,
Indian ambassador for that matter, if you are there, what would you really go ahead and sort of talk to the governments and say, okay, we can do something, or as an Indian?
sir, I think first one would be reducing the fiscal profligacy. The Sri Lankan government is investing or has taken some steps like banning of chemical pesticides, which has resulted in decline of agriculture production, which has led to the economic food crisis. So perhaps that step could be proactively reversed, and agriculture commodities can be proactively
But in
taken.
short term, it's not in short term thing. It will take at least 6 months when the next crop comes, or it will take longer.
Right, sir.
Can
So
you tell something short term?
in short term, it could go for a bargain with the International Monetary Fund regarding a loan from it, which could be used for the imports. It could also talk to like-minded countries like India or India for getting a line of credit at suitable prices. It could also go to various multilateral forums like the Asian Development Bank or
No,
Asian.
can't you, like by helping Afghanistan, basically you're sending free. Here, can't you say we will give you money, but I mean, food grains, and you kind of pay it later, and show a big brother attitude and no, not a big brother attitude, show a sympathy to Sri Lankans and get goodwill for future use, isn't it? That
Right,
can't
sir.
happen. Okay. Now, quickly to Pakistan.
Right, sir.
What feature you see there?
Sir, Pakistan has always been very disturbed when it comes to political democracy, whereby no prime minister as of right now has completed his full term. And yet again, in Imran Khan's case, we have seen the same. As for the future geostrategic and geopolitical implications, the first one could be the Afghanistan issue, whereby since there is no
No, I'm saying he has already dissolved, and some
Right.
people say the constitution doesn't have power, doesn't provide for any resolution of assembly. That's what people say.
Right,
And
sir.
they also say that the constitution doesn't provide for the way the deputy speaker has done.
Right, sir.
Are you aware on what exactly is their provision and what is in our constitutional provision in India?
Sir, I'm not exactly aware of the Pakistan's constitution with regards to dissolving of assembly, but yes, I'm aware of India's context.
What is there in India's context?
Sir, in India, when the majority party loses, it is the prerogative of the prime minister when he has the majority in Lok Sabha to tell the speaker of with regards to dissolving of assembly. This is generally done by the president.
So, do you have president rule in the center, or it is still the prime minister continues working?
Sir, there is no. The prime minister resigns his seat, and which results in the dissolution of the assembly. But yes, a caretaker government is put in place to regulate the affairs of the state.
But in states also, when the government is dissolved,
Right, sir.
The chief minister is not allowed to continue. So why there is a dichotomy between this and that? There should be similar provisions for the states too, isn't it?
So there should be a continuity in the executive, because at union level there are very important matters that need to be taken care of. And if there is an executive vacuum, then a large number of policies cannot be implemented, which affects.
From national point of view, I agree.
Right, sir.
I'm talking about the states. When the states go under president rule,
Right, sir.
the chief minister doesn't exist.
Right, sir.
So don't you think in the center president doesn't take over, but
Right,
here
sir.
in the state he takes over through his governor?
So I think this is another example of a federal state with union where power is more concentrated in the union, and this is generally done in order to maintain the federal features of the constitution as well as the paramountcy of the union with regards.
So that means it is unitary, and in the namesake it is federal too.
So it is federal in various cases, but it has certain unitary features. So that is the beauty of our constitution.
And tell me one thing: there is a saying that the Trinamool is going to raise issue of my women reservation bill.
Right, sir.
In the House, in the Rajya Sabha.
Right, sir.
Do you have any idea as to whether earlier also some efforts of this kind have been done?
So the women reservation bill has time and again been in news with regards to its passage in the in the parliament. As far as I remember, it was last raised in 2008, whereby 33% reservation needs to be given. But since then, there has been no talks as to the further progress of this bill. And now, perhaps again, this issue has been brought up.
Is it somewhere at the national, international level? Also, the government of India has signed some agreements where this kind of mandate is already given, international mandate. Are you aware?
So regarding reservation for women in parliament?
Representation of women in parliament, yeah.
Sorry, sir, I am not aware.
Have you heard of Beijing Protocol?
Yes, the Beijing Convention on Women, sir.
What was there?
So it was an international consensus when it comes to empowerment of women, and that took place in China.
But there was no percentage talked about. No percentage. There was no percentage on which people agreed, is it? You mean that?
Sorry, sir, I'm not exactly sure about it.
Okay, thank you, Kunal. So I'll pass on to Nitin. Would you please take over?
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Yeah, hi, Kunal.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I see you've done your optional in PSIR, right? Any particular reason why you chose PSIR?
Sir, so there are particularly three major reasons. The first one is the overlap with the rest of the general studies subject. And so since I had little time, I tried to go as logically possible as in this case. Second is the availability of materials. So it was easier for me to prepare. And thirdly, sir, is my personal inclination towards the subject.
Which particular aspect of the subject interests you?
So there is a quote by Machiavelli which says that it is better to be feared than to be loved. And so this particular quote has mind-boggled me because the general principle on which democracy is based is love for our leaders. And so I wanted to know what made Machiavelli say this particular statement. And this particularly brought me closer to the subject.
Can you tell me what is the difference between Gandhi's approach towards means and ends and Machiavelli's approach?
So Machiavelli says that end justifies the means. So we can take any particular step as long as the ends that we take are accomplished. So he is a realist type of thinker who, whereas Gandhi ji on the other hand, he believes that ends are important, but so is the means. So we have to adopt only those means which do not hurt anybody and which is on the part of Satya, that is truth. And only those particular means should be taken in order to take the ends.
Okay. Now, can you relate this to the current Ukrainian crisis that we are seeing and India's approach towards it? Do you think it's ethically correct for India to look for ends rather than the means?
Sir, I think India has taken a very principled stand when it comes to the Ukraine issue.
Is it Machiavellian approach or Gandhian approach?
So I think it would be injustice to India's foreign policy if we delineate clearly between the two. I think it is a mixture of both of them. India has time and again said that dialogue and diplomacy is the way forward. But having said that, it has not foregone its national interest. So it has tried to achieve a balance between the two approaches in order to make sure that peace exists as well as its national interests are not compromised.
Okay. Do you think India's foreign policy as such has shifted away from Nehruvian idealism to Kautilyan realism?
Sir, I think yes, to a certain extent, there has been a shift from the Nehruvian idealism to realism in certain aspects, such as decoupling in case of Israel issue, as well as the particular, as well as multiple alignments with the Western countries. But having said that, we cannot take away the fact that India still believes in its core principles of Vasudev Kutumbakam. So it has taken proactive measures in order to make sure that the third world countries are given a word, be it the case of the vaccine diplomacy, where it has, under the Vaccine Maitri initiative, distributed a large number of vaccines, or for that matter, the WTO suit along with South Africa, where it has demanded for the patents to be relaxed. So I think in certain aspects, it has taken realism when it comes to national security. But when it comes for the other aspects which relates to the third world countries, specifically their economic development, India has taken a principled stand.
Okay. Okay. Achha, in terms of foreign policy making, what has been the gradual shift? Do you think that the authority of MEA has diminished over the period of time and PMO has gained more traction in terms of foreign policy making? And is it good?
Sir, I think both the organs, the PMO as well as the MEA, have their own role to play. At the end of the day, it is the Prime Minister who has received the mandate, and it is his policies that he wants to implement. But MEA has given useful feedback as well as taken up the issues to a large extent. So I will say that there is a greater synergy between them, and it would be not good to say that there has been a dissonance between the two. I think synergy is the thing that drives both of them forward.
Okay. Okay. Indian Constitution. Do you think which part of the Constitution is driven by utilitarianism and which part goes beyond utilitarianism?
Sir, I think the directive principles of state policy is based upon utilitarianism to a certain extent, where greatest benefit to greatest number is the order of business, whereas the fundamental rights of the Constitution goes for the individual interests and liberty of the people. So I think.
Oh, yes, pretty good. You've done civil engineering, right?
Right,
Can you
sir.
tell me the various types of bridges that exist, and give an example of each of them.
So the first one would be the arch bridge, where a simple arc is formed, and the Chenab bridge that is being constructed in Kashmir, particularly over the Chenab River, is one of the longest bridges, and it is a single arch bridge. So then is the second bridge is the cable stayed bridge, which is another example, and it can be seen in the Worli Sea Link, the Mumbai Worli Sea Link. That is an example. So there are simple beam based bridges where a cantilever beam is used, and there are many various examples. I'm not able to recollect one. And then there is the Havra bridge, which is based upon detachment. So it allows the passage of ships underneath it. So these are some of the.
Havra bridge is based on what style?
Sorry, sir, I'm not able to recollect right now.
Okay, trust based, right?
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. What can civil engineers really contribute? And you come from Lucknow also, right? So we see a lot of infrastructure deficit, especially in Uttar Pradesh, right? How can civil engineers really contribute towards the economy of infrastructure, where with less funds can we make more infrastructure?
So I think one of the ways is sustainable engineering. And this is the norm, that is utilizing the locally available resources to the best benefit possible. So this is one which could lead to low affordable housings and low cost infrastructure. So sustainable engineering is one. Second one is green buildings, whereby the buildings are so designed that the natural ventilation, lighting are done in order to minimize the energy cost. And I think third is the development of new materials. For example, there is smart concrete that is being built, which is not only lightweight, but it is more sturdier as well. There is also the concept of self-healing concrete, which makes certain buildings more durable because it heals itself. So these are some of the contributions done by civil.
I mean by public infrastructure, I mean roads are not there, right? Mass transit is not there. So what you are suggesting is sustainable development, sustainable infrastructure, green infrastructure, which is mostly expensive in nature, right? When you try to construct them. How do you build more roads, build more railway lines or public transport? How do you make that cheap?
Sir, I feel that if the engineering is sustainable, the cost benefit is much higher. So perhaps a new building can be costing less.
Over a long term, right?
Right, sir?
Over a long term, it is more cost efficient. But if you are not able to begin it in the first place, then what's the point?
Right, sir. So there is new technology whereby fiber reinforced concrete is being introduced. So the concrete is mixed with certain recycled waste like plastic and all. So this not only makes it very cheap, but also more sustainable and durable. So this is one of the ways. Then, sir, there is another way of using muds, like muds to wall or to put it as a extra layer in buildings. So this reduces the cooling cost. So I think such inventions and applications can reduce the cost to a.
Okay. I see you've written that you like watching and discussing movies. Where do you discuss movies?
Sir, I discuss movies mostly with my friends.
Okay. What was the last movie that you saw?
Sir, the last movie I saw was 83.
83.
Right,
okay.
Sir.
And suppose we are to discuss that movie. So what are the things that you think are flawed in that movie?
So I think one of the flaws is Kapil Dev's English. It couldn't have been that bad. The English that Kapil Dev spoke in the interviews.
In terms of movie making, what do you think went bad?
Sir, I feel lesser emphasis was shown regarding the practice that these players took. So most of the movie is about how they won the World Cup, but not how they prepared for the World Cup. So that perhaps could have been more motivational for us to look at.
Do you think the Bollywood has, in recent times, been more capitalizing on these old glories for business? Because I see a lot of movies based on sports personalities being made, which try to enforce some sort of patriotism and make money out of it.
Sir, I think old glory should be relived again and again, because it is these glories which ultimately help us to think for a better future and motivates us in order to take those necessary steps. So I feel that these should be done more and more. And when it comes to making money, sir, every film is in the profit-based industry, and if they are contributing something good to the society by showing the patriotic side, I don't see any reason why they should not be doing.
Okay, all right, Kunal. I think that's it from my end. I'll transfer it to the chair now.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. Rahul, please.
So, Kunal.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Kunal. You are a civil engineer with major in finance. Am I right?
It's a minor in finance.
Minor in finance. Okay. So, tell me, what is stress?
So the basic definition is force by area. That is stress. The pressure that is applied on a particular material, which causes it to crumble.
And what is strain?
So it's change in length of a particular object divided by its original length.
Okay. So, how can civil engineering contribute to the climate resilience of Indian economy?
Sir, the first one should be proper water harvesting structures. So that is the need of the hour, because according to Niti Aayog's Composite Water Index, India is soon to be a water deficient country, and so water harvesting structures is of paramount importance, and civil engineers will play a role in this. So I think the second one is sustainable engineering, as I earlier mentioned. It is the need of the hour to use these resources that we have, which are short in number, to the best of abilities, and so that it creates the maximum positive spillover effect. So I think civil engineers will go a long way in designing such structures.
Can you give me some practical tips that can be followed while constructing a new home in urban India so that its carbon footprint can be reduced?
Sir, firstly, when it comes to urban India, there is a problem of urban heat island effect, whereby the temperatures are very high. So first of all, we would try to design buildings which have thicker walls and are made up of substances which have insulating properties. So this will naturally keep the inner areas cool. So that is one suggestion. The second one would be the alignment of the house. So generally, when the house is aligned in the east-west direction, the natural light plays a very huge role. And so the energy consumption is automatically reduced. And so thirdly, I would suggest the application of renewable energy, solar rooftop panels, and that could be utilized for running the home. And fourthly, sir, recycling water that is being generated in the house.
Okay. Okay. Suppose I am a citizen living in Uttarakhand. And as you know, Uttarakhand has a lot of hydropower potential. And as a civil engineer, you have to persuade me that dam building is safe. How will you do that?
Sir, humans have been building dams from ancient past, and till now we have seen that India has also developed a large number of dams, and seldom it is seen that there are major accidents with regards to dams, unless and until there are some natural phenomena attached with it. So I think dam has a very good safety record, and perhaps in order to convince my superior, I would come out with a proper time-based analysis as to how many dams have been constructed, what has been the positive spillover effect, and what has been the negatives. And looking at the history, I feel that dams have been a great boon to the Indian industry, specifically the energy sector.
Suppose you are not asked to persuade. Suppose you are asked to make an independent analysis whether construction of hydroelectric power dams in fragile ecosystems like Himalayas, whether it is advisable or not. What is your opinion regarding that?
Sir, I think it would be a context-based analysis. So we cannot generalize a particular thing that it is bad or good. We need to do a proper impact analysis of that particular area. What has been its seismic history? What has been its topography? And on the basis of these objective parameters, a rational decision can be taken.
Okay. So you mentioned Machiavelli. What is the one book written by Machiavelli?
Sir, as far as I remember, it is Prince, The Prince.
Okay, The Prince is addressed to an actual prince in Italy. Can you name that prince?
So I'm not sure, but if you would allow me to guess.
Please.
So I think it's Cesare Borgia.
Okay. So now moving on to my next question, you talked about your interest in movies.
Right, sir.
What is your opinion regarding the recent movie Kashmir Files?
The Kashmir Files tries to portray a particular historical event that took place, that was the Kashmiri Exodus, and that is a fact which has been documented. However, there has been some controversy regarding the circumstances in which it took place. So, so there is this controversy, and I have not watched the movie personally, but from the reviews, it seems that the circumstances are debatable.
Okay. So what is censorship?
So the Cinematograph Act of India establishes the Central Board of Film Certification, which is basically the nodal body responsible for this. There has been various Supreme Court rulings as well as social analysis, which shows that motion pictures have a very big impact on the lives of not only the adults, but the children as well. So here arises the necessity for proper censorship so that our future generation are not exposed to vulgar scenes or scenes which are negatively portraying a particular community or a particular caste. So that's why there is a need of censorship.
Censor board has been at the center of various controversies in last 1 decade or so. What do you think should be done to streamline the governance structure of the censor board?
So I think firstly, a person who has domain expertise with regards to film industry, more of such sort of people should be appointed in the censor board so that there is an added advantage of experience as to the ground realities of these movies. And secondly, the whole procedure in the procedure which the censor board is taking, it should be made more transparent. So at regular intervals, the other people can also see that on what basis the particular grounds have been, the ground on which the particular scenes have been censored. And lastly, there should be a proper grievance redressal mechanism so that if anybody has any particular issues, proper channels have been established to convey the same.
Okay. My last question.
Right, sir.
Tell me, is Ukraine war a blessing in disguise for Indian economy?
Sir, I think no war can be a blessing for anybody, and all wars have certain repercussions which the humanity has to face. But prima facie, it can be seen that there have been certain advantages for the economy, be it in the wheat export market or export of other certain natural resources. But I feel that this war is a plague on humanity.
No, I'm talking about strictly India. Is it beneficial for Indian economy? Let's be selfish for some time.
Sir, I wouldn't say that it is beneficial for India because India now has to balance between the rupee, the ruble, as well as the dollar. And so it is one of the major fixes. And secondly, sir, India was having a good trade relation with both Ukraine as well as Russia. And now it cannot it cannot export the same amount as before, as Ukraine is facing financial issues. So I would say there have been certain benefits when it comes to wheat, but there have been certain disadvantages as well. But as long as the war happens, I think overall there is a negative sentiment. And we have also seen that when the Ukraine war started, the stock market crashed. Not crashed, but it decreased. So there have been certain sentiment issues regarding Ukraine.
Okay. Even though I promised you it would be my last question, but I'm tempted to ask another one.
Right, sir.
What is the quantum of trade between India and Ukraine, and what is the quantum of trade between India and Russia?
Sir, as far as I know, the trade between India and Russia is about $12 billion. And I'm not aware of the data between India and Ukraine.
Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you, Kunal. Now,
Request, sir. Please. Gautam, please come in.
Yes, sir. Yes. Kunal.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Kunal, I see this is your second attempt?
No, sir, this is my first attempt.
First attempt. So congratulations to you first that you have reached the interview stage.
Thank you for your wishes, sir.
Okay. So Kunal, I see that your optional is PSIR. Okay.
Right, sir.
We see that whenever elections approach, we often hear of a term called social engineering. So what do you understand by this term, and what is the significance of this term?
So social engineering refers to re-engineering the relationship that exists between different caste, communities, and religions for getting out something. Like engineers manipulate the physical forces like energy and all. The social engineers try to redesign the social relationships between people, and that is what is referred by social engineering.
Okay. Do you think that in the guise of this term, it is actually political opportunism?
So to a certain extent, we can say that social engineering is a form of political opportunism.
Okay, okay, fine. What do you understand by the term political economy?
So the political economy is a subsection of the comparative politics approach, whereby it says that there is a huge interlinkage between the politics of a community and its economic substructure. Same thing was also stated by Karl Marx.
Okay, okay, fine. So you are a civil engineer. Recently, I think maybe 2 weeks back, a member of parliament from West Bengal mentioned that the Indian soil is a bit fragile for the bullet train project to take off. To which the Honorable Railway Minister responded that this is not the case, and the claim is not based on actual facts. So, what do you make out of this situation?
So the Indian soil cannot be categorized into just one particular subsection. It has got various type of soils. For the example, alluvial soil, red soil, and laterite soil. And in certain cases, the bullet trains cannot be run on certain type of soils when the compaction load is, when the bearing capacity of the soil is not very high. But in major parts of the country where the soil compaction is good, bullet trains can be run. So it would not be wrong to say that bullet trains also is context specific and its engineering depends upon the soil. However, having said that, there have been latest developments in technology whereby we can also make these type of soils which are not adequate for the bullet trains to be re-engineered and made adequate. So yes, bullet trains can be run anywhere, but yes, the cost automatically rises when certain type of soils are met.
Okay, okay, fine. One of your hobbies is cooking. So, Kunal, what we see that in the world of professional chefs, only males are normally seen as successful chefs, or they are famous as well, hosting TV shows like Master Chef and all. So, why don't we see women as chefs? They are hardly visible as chefs, whereas in every domestic household, it is the women who are leading the charge of the kitchen. So, why is there such an irony?
So unfortunately, it is a fact that more number of male celebrity chefs are seen when compared to women. But that does not take away the fact that there are also women celebrity chefs as well. For example, Nigella Long of Italy or Rachel of USA. But obviously, but there is a certain form of publicity deficit for these type of uh, celebrity chefs which are not male, and this is a ail in the industry. And but however, there have been steps that are being taken to reverse the trend. Even in master chefs, for example, Master Chef Australia or Master Chef India, there have been guest celebrity judges who are women. So that this is changing rapidly, and hopefully in the foreseeable future, this dichotomy will be this dichotomy will not be there, and not only in the chef industry but in the rest of the professional industries as well.
Okay, okay. So one associated question with it, Kunal, that in India currently we are seeing that the educational attainments of women, they are increasing at a very progressive rate. But simultaneously we are seeing that the labor force participation of women is falling. So why is there such a dichotomy?
So I think for any economy, when it grows, there is a point of inversion, and the woman labor force is seeing the same. Currently, more of the women are occupied with studying or building the human capital, and that's why there has been a decrease in the labor force participation rate. But once when these women get educated, they build up the necessary skill capital, then they'll automatically shift into the professional industry, and we'll see a turnaround in the labor force participation rate.
Okay, okay. And Kunal, one of your hobbies is watching and discussing movies. These days, a term is quite widespread called as cancel culture, right? So, what do
Right.
you understand by this term, and why is it actually a threat to freedom of expression?
So I'm not exactly aware about the term, the cancel culture. So I'll not be able to express my thoughts regarding the same.
Okay, I can briefly explain this term.
Right,
That
sir.
this refers to the fact that whenever there is something adversarial to the opinion of a certain set of people, whether it is depicted in a movie or in a book, there is an immediate reaction to ban that, or to cancel that form of expression. So, do you think it is a threat to freedom of expression as such?
Yes, sir. I do feel that this is a very big threat to freedom of expression, because if people are hesitant to express their opinion because of comments and other type of trolls, then it automatically uh, tells them to believe or to react in certain other ways. And this is a form of majoritarianism, whereby if 100 people are saying, 99 people are saying that something is true, but it is not, and one people is not allowed to express his opinion, then automatically the freedom of speech and expression does not hold. So I feel that this is a threat to freedom of speech and expression.
Okay. Thank you, Kunal. That's it from my side. Over
Thank
to
you.
Chairperson, sir.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you very much. I mean, my personal feeling is that you have come out as a very balanced person.
Right,
The
sir.
controversial issues like Kashmir, like Pakistan, you said I have not read their constitution, I have not seen the movie, and that is how you could really get away with that.
Right,
Because these
sir.
are the areas where you get into, you are bound to have some controversial statements done. I think
Right.
that's a good strategy you adopted. Initially, I found for giving an answer, you started giving a background into a very long introduction before coming to the point.
Right, sir.
I think that is what 35-minute interview. If we start giving long introductions, you will not be able to get more questions from the board.
Right, sir.
That will go to your disadvantage, and therefore try to be brief
Right, sir.
as much as possible, because that will help.
Right, sir.